things from him, not from being an athlete, because, you know, there was some pressure that says, okay, well, in high school, you need to play basketball too, like your dad. I'm like, no, that's not my game. And my father never talked to me about you should play basketball, right?
Right.
He went to all the football games. I always joke the fact that, you know, he went to my football games in high school and we were terrible, right? But, you know, we couldn't pay nobody to win no games in high school, right? So we were bad. And then I went to college and he came to 2 or 3 games every year. At least the first 2 years, I didn't have a chance to get on the field.
Okay.
You know, it was just like I was lucky to be dressed on the sidelines. But, you know, well, they actually dressed everyone for home games. But that showed me like commitment to family. It was like, hey, he was going to be there.
Yes.
And he was going to support us. So, you know, that's what I know about my dad, is someone who, you know, he wasn't that lovey-dovey, mushy person, but he was like, if you need me, he was there.
Right.
And he was there when everything that was important in my sister's life, he was there.
Okay.
And so that's a little bit my dad from a man's point of view. I'm taking a little bit different angle than what people read.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to read about the athlete, go ahead, Google that, right? But I'm just telling you about what it was like to be raised by him.
All right. That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like, well, I know for a fact you got a great father and a great mother too. So that's cool. That's cool. That's beautiful. And the way you express it to folks, I think that's just as cool, because we, like you said, if you want to hear about all the other stuff, go ahead and Google it. It's out there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's hear what happened behind the scenes, that he wasn't just the guy we saw scoring baskets and playing with the Globetrotters, doing all that other stuff. Let's say he was man's man, and so he made sure that family was taken care of. So I like that. So now,
No doubt.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is in your bio, we didn't mention school. So let's talk briefly about your schooling, because I know that you went to HBCU.
Yep.
and that's important.
Yeah.
That's important on this show.
Yeah. So I went to school at Delaware State University. Actually, my daughter's out there right now. We just took out there 2 weeks ago. She's going to be playing basketball out there for them, which is I'm extremely proud of.
Yes, sir.
But the funny thing is, I mean, when I graduated from high school, I didn't think I was going to play football in college anyway, right? I just thought, you know, I just wanted to go to, I don't know where I wanted to go, Michigan State. My mother already told me you was going to HBCU, whether you like it or not. So but there's a reason why. There's a reason why she said that, because, you know, as I was sharing with you, we were talking before,
right,
about one of the things about when Chadwick Boseman, and listen to him, I've been listening to a lot of what he said, right?
Right.
And he talked about in the shop, uninterrupted in the shop on LeBron's show, he talked about, you know, he wasn't taking characters that were stereotypical, but first I'm paraphrasing badly, but the key thing is, he says, first you have to know who you are.
Right. That's right.
And I got the identity for who I was from HBCU. So people don't say, people always tell me, and I just cutting it real, right? People always tell me, oh, well, I don't see a value of HBCU because we go to more diverse schools, we learn about more diverse people, that kind of thing, right? But that's cool. But when you wake up in the morning on your campus and your student government is Black,
mm-hmm,
the people that are educating you are Black, everybody, when you come up with a system that's built for you, right? That's a certain power, because other schools are built for other people, not for us.
Okay. Come on now.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, you get diverse and you hang around with 17 and 18-year-old kids your age. When you come out in the workplace, you're going to be interviewed by 40-year-old people. That's who you interact with in the job force, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like this. So I think that, you know, discovering who I am really made the difference for me, because once I became comfortable with the skin that I'm in,
mm-hmm, yeah.
And first I had to become comfortable in it.
Right.
Then I had to become confident of it. Right.
Okay.
So I just went through that whole journey. Right? I mean,
yes, sir.
and now I'm kind of proud of it because I know a lot of history that a lot of people don't know.
Right.
Um, and the more I learn about the history of Black people, not just in America, but all over the world,
Right.
you know, we're not what society says we are.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
We're not that. We are much more powerful and we make much more contributions.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, we are African American culture is American culture.
In every way.
In every way. In every way.
Mm-hmm.
No one just says that.
Right.
But I'll stop there. Right?
Okay. Beautiful. Well, you said a mouthful, trust me. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, you can ask the question.
No, I was just wondering.
Okay, well, she wanted to tell the people what high school you went to. See, I already know.
Yeah.
Just briefly go into that.
Yeah, I went to UD. I went to UD High School. Well, it's called UD Jesuit now. It was just called UD High School when I was there, right?
Oh, okay.
And you know what? It's an awesome experience too, because you're really going in. You're getting elite education. Is what you're really getting elite education. I mean, I tell people that when I went to school, literally, it was sophomore year before anything new was taught to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I've seen this before, I've seen that before, I've seen that before. So I kind of sleptwalked through my first 2 years of college, but that's because it was college prep. It got you ready for college. So in a lot of ways, there was this extreme benefit for me to go there because of what I went through, because of the education I received from there.
Right.
So, and then also my son went there too. So the son went there too, and he's kind of has similar benefits as well.
Right.
You know, so
okay. Yeah, because we talk about education on this show all the time because you had a good experience in your schools, but it's to show that we can go to Black school and still get major benefits and then come out and be very productive members of society.
Actually, it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
Because if you go back, I mean, I don't quote the statistics off my hand, but if you look at most of I think they say even today, Blacks who go into HBCUs are like 10, 15% of Blacks who go to college, but they're half of all the Blacks who graduate from college.
Right.
So you talk about all the things you say, and then you're talking about members of Congress, CEOs, executives, all throughout all success.
Right.
Blacks who went to HBCUs are overrepresented among the Black community. So when people say there's no value in going there, it's a joke. Because I'm like, the statistics tell you otherwise.
Right, right. Well, they just want to go to a pretty school with a nice. Well, you know how the story goes. We don't want to make our stuff attractive because we rather be part of the major part of society. So they try to dumb down what we do. So that's good. So let's get to the Association for Youth Empowerment and the Detroit Boys Rock initiative.
Okay.
So tell us how you came up with that.
Well, the first thing I need to back up and tell you what the Association for Youth Empowerment is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the Association of Youth Empowerment, I'm kind of reading that, was founded in 2006. It's been around about going on 14 years, over 14 years now, right? And it's a diverse board. If you go into AYEDetroit.org, you can see all the people who are the board members. It's a diverse board. And I can honestly tell you that they're dedicated to creating what we call the beloved community. Right. The beloved community. And we do this by empowering and challenging young people to create that, create positive change. We do that in multiple ways. We create some initiatives on our own. Like we have, I know that Jeff has Bridging 23 and start off with Bridging 8 Mount. All of those initiatives are up on the site. Okay. You can learn what they are. But the whole idea of it is, we partner with organizations who share common goal. I'm reading it from a common goal of eliminating social oppression and fostering respect, acceptance, and compassion in our schools and communities. Okay. That's what the Association for Youth Empowerment is committed to. Okay. And it's for real. We do not deviate from that at all. and we support them in a lot of different ways. We support them when we can financially. We support them with resources or people, that kind of thing. Now, where Detroit Boys Rock came up from was it. Well, you just said, to be straight about it, it's like this: is Detroit Boys Rock was initially created for me in a state where I was in an upset.
Mm-hmm.
I was in an upset with, okay, I hear a lot of things we're talking about, like black girl magic, black girl rock. There's a whole lot of themes around black girls, right?
Right.
And where's the theme? Where's the narrative? Who's telling our young black men the same thing?
That's right. We need our black men. That's right.
And what really bothered me, this was 2 or 3 years. It's been at least a couple of years.
It's been almost 4 years.
What's that?
It's been almost 4 years.
yeah, probably. I posted something on my Facebook page, and what it asked the question was, I says, well, if black girls are magic, well, aren't black boys magic too?
Yes, sir.
And the response I got back was kind of shocking to me.
Really?
Which kind of ticked me off even further.
Yeah.
It was like, no, y'all got to get black women, they got to get their own thing. Why they got to hijack what the black girls are doing, right?
Right.
And I guess me being a child of parents of the 60s, remember the statement, black is beautiful. Right? That covered men, that covered women, that covered all kinds of black. Didn't matter what kind of shades you were, where you came from, rich, poor, all of it, right?
Right.
So, but that was the narrative. I got pushback, not like, yeah, they are. I didn't get like, yeah, they are. So that told me that, well, wow. Well, I created this initiative before then, started it, but that kind of was the beginning to reinforce me. We got to have a conversation in this community.
Right.
Because right now we're in a narrative where we're saying our black girls are magic and black girls are magic, but we're leaving our boys to the wind and not really saying anything to uplift them. Because if you look to any kind of initiative that we see in the black community, if it's by the black females, they almost exclusively talking about brown girls and elevate them. There's no thing like that. And the men do the honorable thing, but they speak to all kids. But nothing focuses on them specifically. So, and then recently, since we're being in the world we're living in now with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and all those kind of things.
Yes.
I kind of sitting there, I was kind of talking to people and shared this with people. I says, well, the only people I hear talking about what's going on with young black men are women and old men. Where's their voice?
Right.
Where's their voice? Where's their expression? Are we going to talk? When do we find out what's in their heart and minds? We don't know.
Right.
We just know that, yeah, it was painful for you. Yeah, it was painful for you to lose the son. But hey, what does his brother feel like?
Yes.
His brother's scared and angry and confused, and what's in his heart and mind?
Yeah.
Like that. So I think that the one thing is about expressing the voice. The second part of it is that that was the foundation of what Detroit Boys Rock is. And I want to clear up one thing about it is that it's not a mentoring program.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not that. I partner with people who do mentoring programs. Okay. But it's more like in support of them, but not that. Eventually, my goal is, we did this in 2017, where I started wanting to do a monthly conversation with young men about the whole thing, about kind of expressing stuff, but it was kind of clumsily done and not kind of well organized. But the intention was where they can get together, have that safe space where they can just talk about their issues, talk about what's important to them, talk about, express what's on their heart. And as a result of that, be able to connect with young men of like mind.
Okay.
To build the community, because if you walk it, I guess we're saying like you can take the fish out of water for a minute and put it in clean water, but eventually you got to send them out the door back in the water they were swimming into anyway, right?
Right.
So what do you do? So what do we do to kind of clean up the water for them a little bit? And that's connecting them to other young men. I'd like to do that again, but I gotta figure out how to do that and what's the best platform to do that. But that's hopefully coming within the next upcoming months.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad you cleared that mentoring, because mentoring is a word that I guess I can say overuse, but it connotates something different than what you're talking about. You're doing, without a doubt. And
It's necessary. It is necessary.
Yeah.
Because it is totally vitally necessary. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of proud. The one of my fraternity brothers, Otis Bellinger, I got an award at Belle Isle last Saturday, because of what I was doing with his organization, Building Better Men.
Right.
So it occurred to me that, and I didn't think I was doing anything big. We made some donations to some of the things he was doing. Last summer, we sponsored 20, well, it was actually turned out to be more than that. We sponsored a whole bunch of young men to do first tee, that's golf.
Mm-hmm.
We did that because every time I look at a program that we want to do young brothers, always a basketball camp, basketball clinic, basketball this, that. Well, why not golf? And from what I'm hearing, they really love that. Of course, the pandemic took us out this year,
Right.
but we couldn't do it this year. But but that's what partnership looks like.
Right.
I'm bringing that to them.
Right. So let me ask you a question. What are the age? What are the age limits of the young men that you work with?
Well, I haven't worked with any good thing specifically, but I'd probably say 18 to well, actually, here's the interesting thing. If I were to focus on a target group that we want to identify, you have to look at somewhere between middle school and 25, 30, something like that. I'm gonna tell you why, because there's an article in the New York Times. This is, again, Google this, called 1.5 million missing black men. And what you find out is that what it's saying is that in everyday life, there's 1.5 black men missing from everyday life constantly, right? Mm-hmm. So that means for every 8 available black women, there's for every 10 available black women, there's only 8 available black men. The rest of them either dead or locked up.
Right. Now,
what the New York Times also says is that for every ethnic group, but it's not like at birth thing. Every ethnic group at birth, it's almost even, 1-to-1, male, female, right? Where we start to lose our young men is middle school.
Yeah.
That's where the gap starts. That's where the gap starts. So and you already know the reason why. That's when they're pulled to do the things that kind of get them in jail or in trouble with the law and those kind of things, right?
Or in the grave.
Yeah, exactly. So, if I were to put a group that I would target, that would be it.
Yeah.
And that's why, because the data says that's the group we should triangulate.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So what is what's the end game?
Good question. Wasn't ready for that one. So I think the end game for me is that what the end game for me is pretty much what I say in the mission statement in Detroit Boys Rock. It says that when I talk about the fact that young black men and boys are personally aware of their own magnificence, mm-hmm. that means they recognize a couple of things.
Okay.
Number one, they know that they're necessary.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
They know that, hey, listen, if this community is going to survive, if this community is going to thrive, that is not possible without them.
Right.
Being able and contributed and powerful like that. But the first thing, rather than me trying to convince, the first thing for me it's foolish for me to try and convince everyone else. You got to convince them first.
Right.
That's who you got to sell them first. That, hey, listen, you are necessary.
Yes. You
are necessary. You're needed, because the message that we hear doesn't tell them that.
Right.
It doesn't tell them that. Doesn't show them that love. I mean, I'm kind of going off track a little bit, but there's an African proverb that says, that a child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. right?
That's right.
And then we're wondering, okay, where is the anger coming from? Where's all the rage? It's because of that lack of embracement. It's like, and yeah, I know that that may be off-putting to some people listening to this because they say, well, I love my nephews and sons, but collectively as a whole, we don't embrace them.
Well, let me say
We don't
this.
embrace them. Now the end game is personal magnificent. Looks like this. It's like saying, no, I'm necessary. I'm here. I'm going to defend my community. We're going to defend our community. We're going to grow up to be fathers. We're going to grow up to defend our women, our communities, and we're going to make our community better.
Right.
That's in order for that community to come about. We need them to know that who they are.
Right. Right. Let me say this. We work with after school program at the church at New Prospect, and we see a lot of young kids, elementary kids, who exhibit what you just said about the attention and the craving for attention, love, warmth from somebody. And so we noted that in school, even in elementary school, young kids show out, act up, don't do what they're supposed to do because they don't get attention from where they need to get it from. So they do it to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually learning those behaviors before they get to middle school.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me. No, go ahead.
I once heard someone say somewhere, and I keep repeating it sometimes, to say that the only way that Black men can get attention is if we do something bad.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we won't talk about the 10 or 15 or 16 fathers who are Black men who are holding up their children, doing anything, but the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 that are doing the wrong things, they get all the attention, right?
Yes.
So I think that there's a dynamic there that says we need to focus on the ones that ain't doing right. And I think that probably starts in school. And also somewhere in there, that talks about in Chicago, there was an article about Chicago public schools, and it talked about this dynamic. It says, okay, when the teachers walk into the room, because they're taught by mostly female teachers, right?
Yes.
Right.
So these are female teachers coming up there, and they're saying, and one teacher asked herself the question. She says, "It's part of the problem that I'm not expecting more from the boys."
Mm-hmm.
She expects more from the girls than the boys, so she gravitates toward that and kind of. So it's like, so it looks like that. So, and that's what, and when they actually started focusing on the boys and expecting more and demanding for them, think the results turned out. Boys started doing better in school. They started performing more academically. They weren't getting in trouble as much because there was an expectation. There was a pull for them. There was a pull for them to lead, to be a leader, to be that, like that,
That's
rather
very
than just,
interesting. Yeah.
rather than we're just going to leave you over there in the corner and do what you want and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? No.
Yeah.
Pick the ones who are going to be leaders and pull them ahead. Children live into our expectations of them.
Yes, sir.
And if we don't expect more of our young men, we're not going to get more.
Yeah. All right.
And there ain't nothing wrong with them. It's just that what we're not demanding more from them.
They're becoming what we expected them to become instead of what we want them to become.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We expect bad. They do bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't really expect anything. And that's part of the problem.
Even,
It's like
even worse.
we don't really expect anything. We just, a lot of times, we all people of faith here, but we kind of hear sometimes every time people talk about, well, I just pray for that boy. I'm like, no, well, wait a minute. Praying is good, but listen, at the end of the day, just praying he don't get into trouble, that's not an expectation. That's a hope.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a hope.
Yes.
Right.
No. When you put these boys in schools, and first of all, as a teacher, you're not obligated just to call on somebody because they raise their hand.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, we had this program, Dell Techno program at Ford, where they sent us off to do some, to help kids. We were giving away free computers to kids, but we taught them how to assemble it, so how to put it together, how to do something like that. This was a few years ago. I'm sad this stopped. So I volunteered for that.
Mm-hmm.
You come in once a week after school. And it was funny because when I walked in the classroom, I was probably the only male they saw all day.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I would do is that I would go ask them a question, right? And of course, all the girls raise their hand. And I ignored the 7 girls that raised their hand. I talked to one boy I knew that was smart in the back. Says, you tell me.
Yeah.
He would answer. I says, well, why didn't you say that?
Right.
Oh no. He knew the answer. He knew what he was supposed to do, right? But no one pulled him up there and said, during the course of the day, no one pulled him up there and said, hey, you give me the answer.
Right.
Don't stand there in the back with all your boys. You give me the answer.
Right. And you know
That's
what?
I mean by we don't expect nothing of him. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. And you know what, Charles? And then he turned into a man who know the answer, but just sit in the back and be quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of adults right now who won't participate when asked, unless they're called upon. If you just put it out there, they're just gonna sit in the back and be quiet. Try to be unnoticed. That's good. So let me say this. So based on what you've been saying, what I see is that this initiative that you have, Detroit Boys Rock, as a conduit with all the organizations that are out there that have these various things in play that our young Black kids don't have access to, don't have knowledge of, but you got contacts and people are doing things, and you can get them to these things. And for sure, if a Black man takes interest in a young Black boy's life, we're going to see positive results. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
So, are there any things that you've seen that you would consider success story with the ones that you had the opportunity to work with?
Yeah. I do. I kind of the one biggest success story, the one thing I'm most proudest of so far is that I think it was the school Nolan Elementary when we did the golf first tee program, right? I mean, some of these kids didn't see what a golf club is, know what a golf ball is. They didn't know. I mean, they see it on TV, but at the end of it, there was some of them could see a different path.
Okay.
Especially if you ask them the question, hey, listen, do you know you can get a full athletic scholarship to play golf? You don't have to play basketball. You don't have to play football.
Right.
You can get a full athletic scholarship to play golf. Oh, and by the way, all those Division I HBCUs that have golf teams, they got to field mostly non-Black players because we don't have enough Black players to play on their teams, right?
Right.
So and I think it was success story for me was just seeing that or getting the feeling back. And it's on the tribute. Otis, he's the guy that over in Building Better Men, he videotape a tribute to that, right? And he says that the program was delivered Friday after school. Friday after school. And it was delivered Friday after school. Now, Friday after school, most of these kids want to go home.
Right.
They don't stay around in school for some activity. They don't want to do that, right?
Right.
But they stuck around for 2 hours after school to go, to learn this, right?
Oh, okay.
On their own.
Yeah.
Because on their own. And here's another thing. It wasn't just that the Association for Youth and Power don't, put forth the money to have them participate in the program, but I felt that, I just don't want to just have a name and a logo. I want them to see who is behind this, right? So I actually went to almost all the lessons, right? Okay. And some of them need to work on their grip. I don't know why they didn't teach them that, but anyway, that's a whole different thing. But but still, it was like they kind of got the sense of it, and especially when you tell them, because most of them still feel it's a white sport, right? Yeah. But if then you ask the question, well, who's the best golfer that's ever played before? Well, he's not a white dude. Right. He's not a white dude. So why are you saying it's a white sport? So, and then a couple of them kind of after last program were talking about, I'm gonna be the next Tiger Woods. I'm like, yeah. So that's the reason why I was upset that we couldn't do it that the pandemic took us out this year, because I wanted to get that kid, I forget the kid who did it, whoever that kid is, say, hey, come back next year and take it off, learn some games. Middle school is a perfect time to pick that up.
Right. Yeah.
So in a way, that be the story I was most proud of, was just that feeling of accomplishment that they got the experience to feel something different. Now,
Yes.
the next thing was I want to get them on a golf course, because we actually had to do, because of legal reasons and other constraints, we had to do it on their field. Luckily, they had a big field there that they could use. But I really wanted to get them. The first tee is usually conducted on the golf course.
Right.
So I wanted to get them away from the school, away from their neighborhood, away from everything, and put them out there on the field. That's
will make a difference.
That's what I want to look at next. But I'm gonna have to get some other partnerships for people to invest in that.
Right.
In that part.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And just so you know, if I think they just deal with seniors though, don't they? You know, the midnight golf program. I think they just deal with high school seniors.
They do.
Maybe junior seniors, but yeah, that's another thing that they can look at down the road to further what they're trying to do. Because yeah. But that's good. So let me deviate just a little bit and get this shot in.
All right.
Things my mother never told me.
Things my mother never told me.
Right. So now let me tell you. Let me set it up first, so you understand where we're coming from. It's not necessarily that your mother just omitted something in your life, but usually there are things that we find out we become adults and start adulting that our parents just didn't have the opportunity, the knowledge of, or the ability to share with us because it just wasn't a thing, or maybe it wasn't an important thing, but you found out when you got older that it was. So is there something that you can share with us that you wish your mother had told you?
Not really, per se. And there's a whole lot of things that I wish I'd have listened to.
And we sure enough relate to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we're listening to, because I guess I'm blessed. I still have my mother with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I still have my mother with me. She, just before she got on, she called. Right. So
right.
you kind of know that. But I want to say that I can't really think of anything other than because she never really. Here's the thing, though. Everything that I said about those young men was expected of me from both my parents.
Okay.
Partly because I was the oldest of my generation of cousins, right? So I kind of had to be, I got a bunch of cousins that are 10, 12, 15 years older than me. And then I got a few that are younger, but I was the oldest of the second set here.
Yeah.
So I always had to be the one that was a little bit more older, a little bit more mature, had to listen to all those stupid kids do all this stuff they doing, and just all of that stuff, right? So I had to be older and mature. My mother and my father to a degree, but mostly my mother, was the expectation that for me was, and that I would be the one that had to be more mature than everybody else, right? I think that's what the message was, because I'm the older. That's old school families. The oldest ones gotta be
the example.
Yes, they're leader.
And
set the tone.
Paying off dividends now, but I absolutely hated it growing up. Because I was like, man, why do I have to be the one to get the last piece of cake? Why do I always have to be the one to get the last? Because the other kids gotta have that stuff, right? So, but no, I can't think of anything that they didn't tell me that I regretted them not saying.
Okay. The
only thing, as I said before, sometimes I wish I'd have listened more. To some of the other things.
Right, and that's okay, because here's the funny thing. It's not really funny because I really expect it. Is that of the guests that I asked that question, the ones whose mothers are still alive had the hardest time answering it.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
they had the hardest time answering. Now I don't know what that reason is. Wink, wink. but it's beautiful, because we had another guest who said basically the same thing you did. Is that they were told a lot of things, and they can't think of anything they weren't told. They can think of some results that they weren't expecting, because of what they were told. And I think, like you said, I think most of us can identify with. There's a whole lot of stuff they told us we wish we had to listen to.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a fact.
That's cool. That's not to be ashamed that you can't come up with nothing. That's something to be proud of. So now let me ask you a couple more questions about the initiative. Is there any requirement, any special requirement that young folks need to be involved? Is there a recruitment process, if you will?
No. I think that at this point in time, I'm looking to partner with other organizations at this point.
Okay.
So, for example, where can we help other organizations? I just like you're doing a podcast. I want to create one too. You know, I guess now that it's Zoom, I got a chance to think about it, where we can get a whole bunch of young men on the call where they can talk about this.
Right.
Eventually, a physical one, but I have to figure out how to facilitate that better than I did before.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a requirement? No, other than what we created before was, number one, you want to be there, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want this. If we create a program, I don't want it to be, well, your son don't want to be there, so you're making him go. Well, that's going to be a drain on the conversation to everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So it's like they have to see value in it. But I think that there wouldn't be anything other than that. And also, here's something else that people miss, is that for helping out or for creating this initiative, you don't have to be black and male to support creating an agenda for this thing.
Right.
Because here's the thing, it's like just have a stakeholder interest in developing young black men.
Right.
And developing and focusing on young black men, because I look at things from a male point of view, right? And I'm going to speak to a male from a man's point of view.
Right.
Right. The other part is, okay, well, look, you probably want a female point of view to offset and focus on young men from a female point of view, to tell them, all right, well, this is what women really want. They don't want this, they want that, right?
Right.
And they want this and they want that. Because a lot of times, a lot of these young kids think, well, they just need to have a whole lot of money. And, women think that's nice, but that's not as important as they think it is.
Right. Right.
It's not important that they think it is. It's how you treat them. Do you respect? That goes into it too. But just think,
right, and all that other stuff will come.
Yeah, just think like, hey, I'm paid and I'm buying you a whole bunch of fancy stuff. But some girls like that. Some girls may like it for a minute, but then after a while, if you're not going any further than that, then what's the point?
Exactly.
Then what's the point? So, but yeah, I think I'm mainly looking for people to collaborate with me on developing this initiative as far as the conversations I want to put out there. Right. And I've talked to some people before. I've talked to a couple people. Yeah, I talked to Jason about this. I talked to Baron Coleman. He's last night in Belle Isle about a couple things about creating some kind of podcast around for young black men about how do you survive an interaction with the cops. Mm-hmm. How do you not become the next guy on the news that got shot and killed, right? How do you come? Because the important thing is like this. The important thing for them is you come home.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That's the important thing. They don't want you on the news. They don't want you to be, you're needed at home, safe, right?
Right.
And so that'd be one thing to create there. So I kind of got an idea how to do that, right? But then again, I'm kind of held back because I want to get a team of 3 or 4 people to help me collaborate on the topics.
Right.
Because I don't want to be the one facilitating all of them. I want to, I want different people facilitating them all the time. Mm-hmm. Variety of people facilitating them all the time, like that. But still, so I think that the requirement, what I'm looking for or help on, is mainly developing a team that's going to build that conversation that I'm talking about in my initiative in the community. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. And like I said, I can see where the value is in partnering with various organizations, because and it's what's most important, especially with young Black folks, is a different voice. Because they keep hearing the same voice, they tune you out.
Exactly. Exactly.
They tune you out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's
Yeah,
cool.
you're right. You're right.
You got another question?
No, but I'm just saying, even I was having a conversation with my sister about her grandson, who's 2 and 3. Well, he's not even 2 yet. But they always saying bad, bad, bad. He's bad. He's bad. I was like, he's not bad. He has to be trained. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know.
You don't bad, bad. Every time he do something, you bad, 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 and that's all he's hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that,
you have to change your wording. He is not bad. Of course, he's going to do stuff. He's testing stuff. He's learning. So you
I
have
have to put my finger. Yeah, I have to put my finger in the light socket. What are you talking about? Right?
Yes.
I have to do that. You know, I'm only gonna know it shocks me when I actually light myself up. Right?
Yeah, right.
When I light myself up, then I know not to
I don't
do
know
that.
how to share my stuff. He bad. He don't. He doesn't know how to share stuff. Teach him. You know what I'm saying? We have to teach him.
To your point, that goes into expectations, right? So you look inside that young boy, it's like essentially it's that you're setting aside an expectation that this is how he's going to be, right? And now he has to live into that, and there's nothing else for him to live into, right? Other than I got to be bad and go out, and it's like, and when he walks out his door, you got a whole bunch of other people telling him you got to be bad too. You got to be thug too. You got to be this. You got to be bad too. It's like the whole world's telling him he got to be
bad. That's right.
Be something he's not supposed to be. It's like I go back to Chadwick Boseman again. If the part of it was, you know, it's a powerful video at the end of it. But what he said was, you know, how he broke stereotypes and broke roles by not, and it cost him.
Yeah.
It actually cost him a whole lot in years of his career because he wouldn't take the stereotypical roles, question the roles he took, question those kind of roles. But what he said at the end of it was kind of profound because what he said was this. He said that, you know, he has to figure out who he is before he can navigate this whole thing. Because if he's navigating through this thing and not becoming what he's supposed to be, then he'll be end up in the wrong place.
Right.
Even if he got a lot of money, even if you got a whole lot of success, even if you got a whole bunch of things, you'll be in the wrong place because that's not what you're supposed to be.
Right.
And to be able to, so one thing the discovery is, going back to what I discovered my HBCU was, a lot of them need to just know who they really are.
Yeah.
And then allow them to define it for themselves.
Right. And you know, one of the things that he said in a previous interview, and even in a speech that he gave, is that Denzel Washington played a massive role in his development in several ways. One, he was his hero, and so watching him to go through his career showed him that you don't have to take these step and fetch it type roles to be successful. But then he found out that when he was struggling at the end of his, you know, about to get put out of school, that Denzel had heard about him and just poured into him. He paid for his classes, and that act of him showing that he cared for him and his future shaped who he became.
Just like you're doing now.
And so that's why his death at though 43 years old,
43 was painful.
It was painful. It one of the most painful deaths of somebody that you could ever see. When you think, oh, he was just an actor, but you see the impact he's had on so many lives. An entire network dedicated a day to him.
Yeah, I know. Him and Kobe, because look, the other part of it was that we didn't know all about what Kobe was doing until after he died, right?
Right.
Now it's like, and then what really shook me up is the fact that they were really talking about them collaborating to create something new, and I'm like, wow, if them two could have got together and create, that's a whole different brand of existence our young men got to live into.
Right.
Now you got two famous, high-profile guys that gonna create that knows like this. And here's the funny thing: you mentioned Denzel Washington. This is how I think that to show you how society supports how black men are portrayed, right? You know, I think Denzel Washington has an amazing scope of work, right?
Right.
Why did he only win the Academy Award for Training Day?
Right.
Yeah.
Now you say like this, why Training Day? Training Day to me was the worst piece of trash movie he's ever made. Why did he get the because he portrayed in that movie what black man's supposed to be. Thugs, gangster, my N-word, all this kind of stuff.
All right, preach that, y'all.
But it's like this. But it's like this. It's like this. Why did he win the Academy? Why not Malcolm X? Why not? Why not Malcolm X? Why not? What was it? I can list.
You can
Glory.
Glory. You can list a whole lot of roles that he played. That he did was better. And you know what? Just to your point. Even with Halle Berry, she won the Academy Award.
Monsters Ball.
Right, for what to me was the worst.
The same year.
Yeah.
It was the same year she won for Training Day.
Right, for that piece of crap.
I know.
Because of the role that it put a black woman in. And so to your point, is that we get recognized by the greater society, good recognition, you said this earlier, for the bad stuff, for the negative stuff. Do something positive, and you're lucky you get on the movie screen.
Yeah. Well, actually, I never watched Monsters Ball because Monsters Ball says something else. Because Halle Berry's husband was a black guy that was on death row, right?
Exactly.
But the guy that she fell in love with was his jailer.
Right.
Yes.
Now I'm sitting there saying like this. So wait a minute. So the guy that got me locked up is the guy you sit here and fall in love with. Now that's another Academy Award. Now that tells you who's writing the script for all these movies.
Oh, without a doubt.
So I'm saying like, so the thing about it is that may be a little bit hot for people to deal with.
There you go.
Saying,
there
right?
you go.
But
it went over our head.
It's a fact. It's real. It's like saying, okay, but you know, it's a fact and it's real.
Right.
So but people don't sit back and think about stuff like that.
Yeah. And and
I'm not mad at them for taking the roles, but I'm just wondering why they got the awards they got for that particular role.
Right. And and a lot of it is our fault as a community. It is because we tend to be more accepting of our people in those roles than in the good roles. And it's just like on TV. You take the same show with a white cast. I ain't gonna say Friends, and you put a African American cast in it, and the white show gonna win all kind of awards. The black show be lucky if it lasts 2 seasons. And and it could be a better show. But yes.
Yeah. Even our own people will not want
about Bill. What was the movie about Bill Street? It was like
Bill Street Bill Street Blues.
Couple?
No, it was a couple. I know there was the Valentine that came out last year, right? That was a positive black love story about the whole thing. You ask most black folks, they ain't never heard of it, right? They ain't even heard of the movie, right? Another one was Bill Street.
Yeah, some Bill Street.
Some Bill Street. People never heard of that, right? But we hear about all the trash movies because that's what's out there, and that was out there on blast, right? I mean, I got disenchanted with the movie industry when I was in college. Because I remember when I was in college, and I know a lot of sisters gonna be mad at me when I say this, right? But it's like this: when I sat up there and when The Color Purple came out, now here I am. I'm just now finding out my identity and who I am, and I'm sitting there watching on TV about this first major release all black cast going to the movie, and all of the men are abusive. And they're abusive, stupid. There wasn't no good black men in that movie at all. And I said, and literally I walked out the movie thinking like, is that what you think? Now, what gets me mad is people say, well, that's how things were back then. Not all the time. Not all the time. All black men wasn't like that back then, right? So it's like, but what happens is that goes back in the expectation of thing, right? Well, this is just what we were, and this is what it's kind of like we're victims of each other, rather than like that. So I guess I lost interest in the whole Hollywood thing after that movie, right? And because I'm just coming up from my point of view of how I felt watching it. I really felt deflated and pained after watching that movie.
Right.
because it was so painful. Like, wow, I literally thought, wow, this is what they think of me. I took it personal. This is what you think of me. This is what the world thinks of me, and everybody else is proud of this.
Right.
And I get upset about it because I know a lot of people feel different. I'm just expressing how I feel, right? So it goes into the whole thing about, it goes back into the whole narrative about what do we expect?
Right. Right. Well,
what do we expect from men?
Well, I just looked at the movie. If Beale Street could talk.
That's it. That's it.
But there's a problem with that movie. Yeah. Although it was black cast, it was done well. It was serious injustice to that brother in that movie.
It was.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah. So even in the good stuff, we still get the injustice.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what I got out of it, but what I got out of the movie mostly is like, how many movies do you see other than Valentine? If Beale Street could talk, there's only but a few movies you see, you can count on one hand that come out in the making that have that kind of relationship between a black man and a black
woman.
Mm-hmm.
You that come up. There's only a handful of movies like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, so first of all, that's a whole other podcast. But it's like black men and black women need to get rid of that divide.
Yeah.
Like somehow we facing some kind of different enemy, or we each other's enemy. We're not.
Right.
We're in the same place, same community, same place. Let's all work together and make this better.
Right. Right.
All of us.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah, you're right. That's another, because we can go, because it's a couple other movies that were great movies.
Just change the language.
But they still have a dynamic that a black man and a black woman develop a relationship, and the system destroys it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
why do you think 1 in 3 black men are locked up?
Yeah. So we need to like take a page out your book, and we need to invest wholeheartedly into the lives of our young black folks, the boys as well as the girls. I understand where Black Girls Rock came from. I understand the impetus behind it, but you're absolutely right. Black Boys Rock too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do. And the only reason why the initiative is not called Black Boys Rock is because somebody got a Twitter page called that already. So I couldn't call it that.
Right.
So I had to put Detroit in there. And as I said before, if I get more young people involved in it, everything's on the table. So people want to even change the name of it, they can. But that was more of a shot back to say that, listen, our young men rock too. They're magic too.
Right. Well, a lot of our young men now, they are rocking. They're from Detroit, and they parents from Detroit. That's right.
Yeah,
they are
right. And actually on this podcast, we had, and I'll say they're my cousins, but we had 2 young black men who are, one of them songwriter, he's an entrepreneur, he has a marketing company he just created.
Yes.
His twin brother, singer, he's started a catering company that he's doing, and they got other hands and other fires.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we got another young man who's going to be on in a couple of weeks, who's doing some great things. And some of these guys, but they're out there doing great things and as young black men. So we got some stuff to be proud of. I think we head in the right direction. We just got to get the stories out there so everybody knows that our community,
and we can do it. They can do it too.
Right, exactly. They can do it. Although we got some trouble, we got some things we got to work out, but them things been there since before any of us was around.
Mm-hmm. And those same young men that are doing stuff now, they went through the same things that our young men that are struggling to get to. Because they had to find their identity. They had to work hard to get to where they had to be too.
But the thing is that for a lot of them, it's like, first of all, we don't hear a lot about them or enough about them.
That's
first.
true. Mm-hmm.
Second thing is we don't really elevate them to where they're supposed to be. We don't, right? We don't elevate them to where they're supposed to be, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, it's like, okay, well, now that I got you young brother over here that's doing this, and let's put them 2 in the same room, right? And let's put them 2 in the same room. Like, if I'm an actor and you're a producer, we can do something, right?
Yes.
Or we can create business and that kind of thing. So it's like a lot of them have that Lone Ranger kind of thing where I'm just going to do it myself. No, just build that community up.
Right.
Build that community up, and then that's where the power starts. Because and one of the things about the initiative is, you talk about the end state, I talked about it before, is if they develop them positive relationships and positive friendships at a certain point, and they go out in the world, they start collaborating on this kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
Right.
And so now they got people of like mind to collaborate with, so that they can build that beloved community.
Right.
That's would be a win.
Yeah, without doubt. And I'll say this: one of my, the one who's a songwriter, was a gentleman who was watching one of my old classmates' nephew, and he said, "Wow, I do that stuff too." And so he reached out to me and said, "I want to try to collaborate with him on some stuff because I like what I heard. I'm doing some of the same things. I want to do some of the same things. Maybe we can get together." So the two of them got together, and hopefully they'll come up with some projects that'll work. But yeah, but that's the and I'm glad you said that, because you promote what we're trying to do by saying that, because a lot of what we're doing is we're trying to get the information out about what's available, because some of our people don't know. They just don't know. And so we want to put folks with information, with people who do things, and see if we can do what you just said, get together, old heads, young and young, whoever, and make this thing happen.
Exactly.
Make this thing happen.
And the one last thing I'm just going to say is like this, is that I like to collaborate with people, just like I say, I want people of like mind to collaborate, to develop young men, but I also want to collaborate with people of like mind or have a similar interest, so we can build that beloved community for our boys.
Right.
Now, it's like to build our beloved community for our boys, because, build them up, because a lot of times we develop programs with the expectation, assumption that something's wrong and we got to fix them, right?
Yes.
You don't have to fix them. Ain't nothing wrong with them, right?
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with them other than the fact that we need to put something in over there with them, so now they get, oh, well, I am good as everybody else. So no,
Yes.
I don't have to be this way. I can be this way.
Right.
I don't have to do this. I can do this. I don't have to, it's like this. And then if they get that embrace like that, then the village don't burn down.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
We stop the village from burning down. But the first of all it's like, hey, listen, the first place they need to be a hero is where they are. And then, let them be the hero once. Let them be the one let them be the hero once, because they want to be. Let them be the savior once, because they want to be. Let them be, because I always say, and I said it before, it's like men are basically built to be needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're built to be needed. And a lot of times, if we don't make sure that these young black men know that they're needed, what do they have to do?
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
Right.
Other than really we need you here.
Yeah.
We need you here. We need you well. We need you educated. We need you prosperous. We need you here to do certain things, or this whole thing isn't going to work.
Right.
And just having them get that they're needed, that they're valuable, that they're wanted, and really kind of have them feel this way, and then have them get that. And then if they get that, then what they're going to build, we ain't even thought of yet.
Right.
You're right.
That's right.
Because that's what the drug
They're
dealer
going to build, we ain't
does.
even thought of yet.
Drug dealer does. He makes them feel needed, wanted, and takes
Right.
them in under their wing, and next thing you know.
Yeah, until they're not needed, then you know what happens. So,
Yeah. So, but I'm just saying,
that
the
world.
initial thing,
Right.
yeah, our stuff is being positive, but I'm just saying that just falls back on them being needed. And then
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
show that, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna continue to work with my sister with her grandson.
All right, cool. Yeah, thank
change
you.
her language. And
Yeah. And
I think we're almost out of time, so I want to thank you guys. Really want to thank you for giving me this opportunity.
right. We thank you for coming in and sharing with us. You
Yeah.
said a lot of good stuff out there. And so we gonna keep looking at what's happening. We're gonna pitch in what we can pitch in, and we're gonna make this work for all of us.
Absolutely.
right, 'cause-
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
all
Take
right,
care,
then. Thank you
Charles.
very much.
Peace
Charles.
out.
Appreciate
Peace.
that. All right,
All right,
spread the word.
Yeah.
Spread the word.
Bye-bye.
Detroit boys rock.
Detroit Boys rock. Yes, sir. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.